If I was alive and playing video games in 1993, I would probably give Doom a 10. Fact is that I was not though, and as somebody who's never known a world without Halo, my perspective towards Doom is obviously biased by knowledge of the future. I haven't done myself any favors either, tolerating Doom 2016, giving up on the boring mess that is Doom Eternal, and finally really enjoying Quake. And it is with little relief that I can say I like this significantly more than either of the new games with Doom in their names. As far as speed and agency of the player, Doom has already mostly mastered the craft. There's never a moment outside of the level transitions and brief text crawl scenes, which complete chapters, where you're not in control of your character, your weapons, your aiming. There's little to say here, but it all works. It's snappy, it's responsive, it's good. New Doom, in contrast, consistently eggs you on to forfeit your role as player in little microbursts to engage in glory kills. Taking inspiration from games like Overwatch, id Soft saw fit to add a press F to win mechanic, during which you get to watch for the 50th time one randomly selected half-second long animation out of a pool of about 10. At first, I have to admit that it does feel like you are ripping and tearing. However, the veil grows thin quickly, and before long you're just listlessly plugging away at every combat scenario, having no real input for about 20% of the time you're playing. Obviously, this isn't a problem in the only actual real id Soft game called Doom. The biggest point where Doom doesn't really hold up quite as well anymore is in its level design. The worst levels in Doom are very snaking and labyrinthine, sending you back and forth to be a colored key delivery boy through a map now made mostly empty as a consequence of already having killed everything. It's still fine on the whole though, and my imagination of how people described the keycard gameplay was much worse than it actually was in practice. The second worst levels are the ones at the start of every chapter, where you've been stripped of all your cool guns and have to go back to your two most useless weapons. I kinda understand this as technical limitation, and a way to easily make Episode 1 shareware, but now it's a bit of a hassle to have to get all your stuff back so you can start having fun again. It generally doesn't take long until you at least get the shotgun, but it's still a decision that hasn't aged quite as favorably as the rest of it has. Another minor blemish is the vagueness present in aiming. There is no crosshair, and being a twin-stick game under the hood, and with all the enemies being billboards, lining up a shot is a little more lackluster than I would have hoped, and it can often feel just a little more vague than I'd like. In the grand scheme of things though, these issues are fairly minor in the face of the fact that this was really the first big game to get 90% of FPS design right, even down to the decision to recommend playing with a mouse. Even if I still hold Quake up as the better game, mostly in part to mechanics, but I also like the aesthetics more, it's still easy to see the huge degree to which Doom had a propulsive impact on the industry at large. It's hard to imagine what it was like playing this on release, it being so far ahead of every other 3D game at the time, especially given it still manages to show up probably most new blockbuster AAA shooters released 30 years later. No wonder shooter as a genre label was entirely redefined by this game, almost single-handedly. Doom is obviously one of the most important games ever, but you already knew that.